On the 1094th day of being Mrs. Hayes, I asked Julian for a divorce. A flicker of confusion crossed his face, but it was quickly replaced by his usual, aloof expression. As you wish. He said it so casually, as if we were discussing whether to change the milk on the breakfast table. He didn't even bother to ask why. On the 1095th day, I acted as if nothing had happened, gently seeing him and the children off. And then I left the Hayes family for good. At first, Julian and his family thought I was just throwing a tantrum, but slowly, they realized something was wrong. The first to act out was the younger son, Finn. He had been happy to be free of the mother who was always nagging him, but on the day of the school fair, his father forgot to tell the nanny to prepare his cookies. When his classmates gathered around, eager for his mother's homemade bear-shaped cookies, and all he had were store-bought ones, he suddenly realized that maybe his mother wasn't so useless after all. The second to feel the change was Leo. He had always detested the woman who had used deceitful means to replace his own mother, but on a stormy night, as he leaned against his door, the absence of the soft lullaby he usually heard from the other side filled him with a sudden panic. The third was old Mrs. Hayes. Her doctor informed her that her blood pressure was high again and she would need to start medication. She realized it had been over 2 weeks since Shed had one of Eliza's healthy, specially prepared meals. Even Julian's married sister, Julia, started casually asking him when he was going to bring her sister-in-law back. The family began to mention my name more and more frequently. Some even started to advise him that a man needed to be magnanimous, that a little humility and appeasement wouldn't diminish his status. Finally, at the breakfast table, his mother gave him an ultimatum. Julian, I know you have your pride, but a husband and wife shouldn't be estranged like this. If you want ask Eliza to come back, then I will. Julian's already cold demeanor turned glacial. They all thought he was too proud to stoop to asking me back. The truth was, he had called me the day after I left, but he had been blocked. The number he had never dialed in 3 years was now unreachable. At that thought, the man's expression soured. He glanced at his 2 sons, who were looking at him with hopeful expectation, and a wave of helplessness washed over him. Mom, don't worry about my and Eliza's affairs. How can I not? You have 2 children. How can that woman be so irresponsible? For the first time, he found his mother's nagging unbearable. If you can find her, then go ahead and find her, he snapped, then turned and left. He belatedly realized just how much Eliza could now affect his emotions. The 3 people at the table exchanged glances. The old woman was the first to take out her phone. I'm going to ask her if she still wants this family, but all she heard was a mechanical voice. The number you have dialed is not in service. The 2 boys couldn't sit still either. They both tried the number, with the same result. It was Leo who spoke first. She never misses our calls. Do you think something happened to her? Julian's hand froze on the doorknob. Images of crime scenes flashed through his mind. A sudden, sharp panic seized his heart. Alex, my wife is missing. Please help me file a police report. Wait. Contact a few private investigators first. A discreet investigation. I'll send you the details later. He pinched the bridge of his nose, forcing himself to calm down. I had settled in a small southern town. In a little courtyard I had rented, I was lying on a rattan chair, enjoying the rare shade of a summer afternoon. The town was pleasant, with beautiful scenery year-round. I planned to open a flower shop here. I used to dislike impractical things like flowers, but 3 years as Mrs. Hayes had cultivated a certain refined taste in me. Julian found me on the evening of the 3rd day. His usually immaculate attire had a rare flaw. Following my gaze, he noticed the button hanging loose on his cuff. A hint of embarrassment appeared on his stern face. Why didn't you come home? His voice was cold. I looked up at him, surprised. Mr. Hayes, as your soon-to-be wife, I don't think I have any reason to be at your house. For the first time, I saw a look of anger on his face. It was a novelty. Our marriage, our family, such a joke to you. His attitude was starting to annoy me. My own impatience began to show. On the 1094th day, I asked for a divorce, and you agreed. Have you forgotten? Julian was clearly not a good arguer. He never seemed to grasp the main point. You just said, the 1094th day. He looked puzzled. I realized my slip. Although I was prepared to tell them the truth to avoid any further entanglement, I still tried to bluff my way through. Mr. Hayes, whenever you're free, we can go to the civil affairs office. He frowned, then said, everyone has been having a hard time since you left. I gave a careless smile. They'll get used to it. He sighed. Mom's blood pressure is up. The doctor has her on medication. Leo's grades have dropped, and his teacher says he's sleeping in class. I cut him off. Mr. Hayes, that is your mother and your son. What does that have to do with me? He seemed taken aback by my words, his handsome brow furrowing even deeper. Eliza, I think we need to talk. If there's been a misunderstanding, we should clear it up. A wicked thought occurred to me. I mimicked his usual demeanor. Julian, I don't need to explain my every decision to you. Some things you wouldn't understand even if I did. I made a request. You agreed. We both got what we wanted. Isn't that for the best? His expression changed again. It was strange. In 3 years as his wife, I had seen more of his facial expressions today than in all those years combined. What about Finn? Your own son. Are you just going to abandon him? At the mention of that name, a pang of pain went through this Boda's heart. I remembered Eliza's final days, how she worried about this child the most. But those closest to you are the ones who can hurt you the most. The 3-year-old boy had once declared in his high-pitched, childish voice, Daddy, I don't want a bad woman to be my mommy. I want to be Aunt Eva's son, just like my brother. The whole family was there when he said it. Leo had looked at Eliza with a defiant smirk. Julian had been about to scold him, but his mother and sister stopped him, saying, he's just a child. You can't take what a child says seriously. At the time, I had thought, of course, you don't argue with a child, but what about the adults who coached and manipulated him? But Eliza had said nothing. She had helped Finn put on his coat, packed the gifts for Eva's family, and then, along with the maids, stood at the door to see them off to celebrate Leo's birthday at Julian's ex-wife's house. Only I could see the redness in her eyes as she turned away. Remembering this, my own expression turned cold. The divorce agreement is very clear. I don't want your family's money, your house, or your people. You. He hadn't expected my sudden anger. Eliza, what is wrong with you? We are a family. Whatever is going on, you need to tell us so we can solve it together. A family. I savored the words. He rarely considered me part of his family. Even when he introduced me as Mrs. Hayes, there was always a clear line between me and them. What was I in the Hayes family? A high-class housekeeper, perhaps. His mother, his sons, his sister, even his ex-wife were all part of his family, but not me. Mr. Hayes, have you ever really considered me part of your family? My smile was sarcastic. If I remember correctly, every member of the Hayes family receives at least 3 of the company's shares. Your ex-wife, Ms. Eva, and your brother-in-law, Mr. Zhang, both have them, don't they? So, may I ask, as your current wife, a member of your family, where are my shares? His hand clenched into a fist, a habitual gesture when he felt pressured. Eliza, you're different from them. You don't understand the business. Is that so? To own shares in your company, do I need to start issuing orders at your board meetings? Do I need to be a professional manager first? He was momentarily flustered by my retort. Eliza, I didn't know you cared about this. When we go back, I can discuss giving you some shares. I sneered. No need, Mr. Hayes. You've missed the point again. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm telling you, I'm tired of being Mrs. Hayes. I don't want anything. I just want a divorce. Please, take your family and get out of my life. His face turned a deep shade of crimson. He had been in a position of power for so long. He had probably never been rejected so bluntly. He turned and left, tossing over his shoulder, Civil Affairs Office, 10 a.m. tomorrow. When Julian got home, he was so agitated he just wanted to hide in his study. But Finn, too young to read the room, asked bluntly, Daddy, can you bring Mommy back? I want Mommy to take me to school, and I want her to read me stories. His older son also stood up. Dad, is she okay? He looked at the 3 of them, who should have been in bed hours ago, waiting for him because of that woman, and his frustration grew. You're all so eager for her to come back, he thought, but in her eyes, you're nothing but a burden. He didn't know how to tell them he was being divorced, that the woman was never coming back. She's fine. She opened a flower shop in a small southern town, he said, answering the easiest question. Then go get her. Daddy, Finn said, with the innocence of a child. He felt a wave of helplessness. Remembering the woman's attitude, he hardened his heart. She's not coming back. We're getting a divorce tomorrow. What? This time it was his mother. How can you be so irresponsible? Why are you getting a divorce? Mom, he said, don't worry about it. Remembering the woman's disdain, he added viciously, besides, she didn't become Mrs. Hayes through proper means anyway. It's for the best that she's no longer clinging to our family. His mother seemed taken aback. Julian, she has been a devoted wife to you all these years. You shouldn't hold that one incident against her. But he continued, as if venting his earlier frustrations. It's for the best. I don't want her bad character to influence the boys. Mom, you have to think about Finn. If he continues to live with her, how painful will it be for him when he finds out his mother used deceitful tricks to climb into our family? He was about to say more, but his mother cut him off. That's enough, Julian, stop it. In his memory, it was the first time his mother had ever defended Eliza. Before he could react, tears welled up in her eyes. Julian, I should have told you a long time ago, but, sigh, you reminded me today. I shouldn't have let my own selfishness cause a rift between you and her. She took a deep breath, as if the words were hard to say. You've always resented her for drugging you at that party, which forced you to marry her. She looked at her grandson. Leo, all these years, you've resented her for destroying your parents' chance of getting back together. So, no matter how good she was to you, how much she cared for you, you were always cold to her. You never even called her mom. The truth is, you don't know. She didn't drug you. I did. It was all a misunderstanding. Eliza was a victim too. All three of them stared at her, wide-eyed. Leo felt his body begin to tremble. He had hated that woman, because she had drugged his father and ruined any chance of his parents reconciling, of him having a complete family. But if it was all a misunderstanding, then all the things he had done to her over the years, he couldn't bear to think about it. His grandmother continued. I was actually trying to set up your father and your mother. Your divorce was so rash, and you were still on good terms. I thought, you're both so stubborn. I would just give you a little push. I prepared the drug at the party. It was supposed to be for your father and your mother, but somehow, the glass your mother was supposed to drink was given to Eliza. At first, I thought she knew something and took advantage of the situation, but later, when I was talking to the housekeeper, we realized we had made a mistake and given the drink to the wrong person. But by then, Eliza was already pregnant with Finn. I was afraid she would favor her own son and neglect you, Leo. I thought, if she carried this burden of guilt, she would have to at least pretend to be a good mother to you. So I kept the secret until today. Grandma. Leo's voice was bitter. He held his head high, as if clinging to his last bit of defiance. Then why didn't she explain herself? Why did she let herself be the scapegoat for all these years? She did explain. We just didn't believe her, Julian said, his voice strained. He remembered a long time ago, when he was drunk and pinning her down. She had pushed him away, saying she didn't want to. He had been angry that day and had sneered. Isn't this what you dreamed of? Now you've got it, and you're playing hard to get. He clearly remembered the light going out of her eyes. She had said, Julian, I like you, but I never plotted against you. I never wanted to sleep with you like this. He had just laughed and continued. He hadn't believed her then. He hadn't cared. All these years, who in their family had ever cared about Eliza? They had judged and condemned her from the start. Only Finn was oblivious. He asked cautiously, Grandma, does that mean Mommy didn't break up my brother's mommy and daddy? Mommy isn't a bad person. Leo couldn't hold back any longer. He pulled his younger brother into a hug. Finn, all those things I told you before, all the things we heard, from Grandma, from Auntie, they were all wrong. We were all lying to you. Your mommy isn't a bad person. She's very, very good. He couldn't continue. He was choking on his sobs. The next day, outside the civil affairs office, I saw the entire Hayes family. I couldn't imagine why they felt the need for such a large audience for a simple divorce. As I approached, Finn ran up and hugged my leg. Mommy, where did you go? I missed you. This child had never been close to me. He had been taught by his family to be polite and reserved, but towards his own mother, he was always cold. In the past, such an affectionate gesture would have made me ecstatic, but now, on the 1095th day, I was done with this family charade. I looked at Julian. Your son is being unruly. Aren't you going to do something about it? I saw the expressions on all their faces change. Julian, perhaps afraid of upsetting his son, stepped forward and gently pulled him away. Willow, Finn just wants to be close to his mother. He hasn't done anything wrong. Is that so? I crouched down with a malicious grin and looked into Finn's eyes. But how can a bad woman like me be Finn's mommy? His eyes instantly reddened, but he fought back his tears. Willow, I know you've been wronged all these years, but you can't take it out on Finn. He's just a child. Julian's voice was tight with suppressed anger. I stood up, unconcerned. Fine. Let's get the divorce finalized so you can find him a good stepmother. Eliza. This time it was Mrs. Hayes. She had always enjoyed playing the Empress Dowager with me, finding fault with everything from the temperature of my tea to the saltiness of my cooking. I remembered one winter when she had a craving for a specific type of steamed bun. I made them for her, batch after batch, from morning till night, but she was never satisfied. Later, When the kitchen staff had gone home, I heard a maid whisper, "The old lady is really something. The missus has made at least 7 or 8 batches already." I know, right? It's not about the buns. It's about her. How did I finally pass her test? I drove out to the countryside in the dead of winter, visiting 5 or 6 villages until I found the specific, traditionally sun-dried preserved vegetables she wanted. Only then was she satisfied. I looked at her. "You can save your lectures. I'm not worthy of your wisdom. When your son finds a new wife, you can lord it over her then." They all seemed shocked that the doormat they had always known could be so defiant. Even Mrs. Hayes was too stunned to be angry. "Eliza, what has gotten into you? We are a family. Don't talk about divorce." I was tired of their games. "Julian, we had an agreement. Let's go get this done. From now on, we go our separate ways." I started to walk towards the entrance, but he grabbed my arm. "What do you want?" I snapped. "Willow, don't be like this. You're not thinking clearly, and there's been a misunderstanding. Don't act on impulse." It was rare for him to be so gentle with me, but it was happening outside the divorce office. I turned and looked at him seriously. "Julian, are you insane? You can get rid of a despicable woman like me without spending a dime. Isn't that what you've always dreamed of? Why are you hesitating now?" His brow furrowed. "Willow, I found out some things yesterday. I admit, we have wronged you all these years. Please, give me a chance to make it up to you." "No need. I'll just consider the past as being bitten by a dog. As long as I don't have to see your family again, I'll be happy in my dreams." "Willow." A look of shame crossed his face. "Let's go home first. There are some things I need to explain to you." His tone was firm. It was clear that if I didn't go with him, he would have me carried away. Fine. I had a few things to say to them too. In the Hayes family study, Julian was unusually gentle. "Willow, about the party, we misunderstood you. I only found out yesterday that you were a victim too." "I'm sorry." His apology was sincere, but I just sneered. "You found out? How? And if you know I was framed, then who was the real culprit?" He looked away, ashamed. Mrs. Hayes' face was beet red. "Well, you said you knew the truth and wanted to clear up the misunderstanding." "Willow, don't be so aggressive. What happened was a mistake. No one wanted it to happen." "A mistake? You call it a mistake? Your mistake made me carry the reputation of a shameless woman and work like a slave in your house for 3 years. You think one word can erase all the evil your family has done to me? Julian, you don't really think that by marrying me, you did me a huge favor. And now that you've decided you were wrong and will treat me better, I should fall to my knees and thank you. Do you? Wake up. The Qing dynasty ended a long time ago." My relentless attacks left him speechless. "If you know what's good for you, you'll finalize this divorce with me. If you want to drag it out, fine. I have nothing to lose." As I was about to leave, Mrs. Hayes' old voice called out, "Willow, our family has wronged you. It was my mistake. I was the one who drugged you, and then, afraid of being blamed, I let you suffer all these years. I'm swallowing my pride and apologizing to you." "Willow, you love Julian so much. And you have Finn. He's so young. Can you really bear to leave him?" "Mommy." Finn's cry came right on cue. I turned and held up a hand to stop the little boy from running to me. If you had said this to the Eliza from 3 years ago, she probably would have fainted from happiness. But now, I just find your family disgusting and hypocritical. Alright, since we're being so honest, let me tell you the real truth. I looked at their confused faces and pulled a new ID card from my pocket. "Willow Way." "Julian, read the name. You changed your name. As you can see, I am not Eliza. My name is Willow. About 2 years ago, I was in a car accident. When I woke up, I found myself in Eliza's body. I watched her being enslaved and humiliated by all of you. Especially you." My gaze fell on Leo, my voice cold. "You are the cruelest child I have ever met." Leo trembled. I ignored him and continued. "This went on for 2 years. One day, Eliza said to me, 'Willow, I can't go on. I'm giving you my body. Please, take care of them for 3 years. Will you?' That's when I realized her depression had become so severe it was manifesting physically. She was starting to have self-destructive tendencies. She knew she could no longer be a wife to you, Julian, but Finn was too young to be without a mother, so she made this deal with me." I paused, looking at their shocked faces. "What? You don't believe me? You think I'm telling a story?" I threw a stack of medical records on the table. "Take a good look. See how your family drove Eliza to her death. None of you are to ever appear before me again. Honestly, if it wasn't for my deal with Eliza, I wouldn't want to spend another second with any of you. There isn't a single good person in this family, from the old to the young." I left without a backward glance. Mrs. Hayes' face was filled with terror. Julian, is she telling the truth? Is Eliza a ghost? Will she come back for revenge? She clung to Leo. Julian, maybe we should hire a master to perform an exorcism. Julian's mind was in turmoil. He knew they had all disliked Eliza, but he never thought their dislike, their mistreatment, had been severe enough to drive her to suicide. Mom, he said, his voice strained, there are no ghosts. Eliza was probably just sick. I will have a specialist review her medical records. He fled the room. He kept hearing Eliza's words in his head, in her eyes. His family was the most disgusting, ugly thing in the world. He moved quickly and soon got a preliminary diagnosis from a doctor. According to the records, Eliza developed depression shortly after Finn was born, but none of us noticed. Later, perhaps as a way to save herself, she developed a second personality, Willow. He explained to his mother and son, his voice heavy. This personality, Willow, is completely different from her primary one. She doesn't love me, and she doesn't like anyone in the Hayes family. Eliza's primary personality must have been aware of Willow's hostility and kept her from taking control. But, he swallowed a lump in his throat. Later, her symptoms became more and more obvious: palpitations, insomnia, trembling. Finally, after she was almost caught trying to kill herself by Finn, she got scared. She loved him so much. She couldn't bear the thought of what it would do to him if she died in front of him, but no one was there to help her. We, her so-called family, never even noticed her pain. No, how could we not have noticed? We just chose to ignore her, to belittle her, to push her step by step towards the edge. If she had left us then, she could have recovered, but she didn't. I guess because she couldn't bear to leave Finn, she made a deal with Willow, letting Willow take her place to raise Finn, in exchange for her own permanent disappearance. By the time he finished, his voice was so hoarse he couldn't speak. He pressed his clenched fist to his lips to stifle a sob. He remembered Willow's insistence on the 1095th day. 3 years. That was the 3 years Eliza had bought with her own life. And what had they done? He hadn't been blind to his older son's cruelty towards her, the dead insects in her room, the crafts she had worked so hard on that were deliberately destroyed. And that winter, not long after Finn was born, when his son had pushed her into the outdoor swimming pool. Thinking back, if his son had treated anyone else like that, even a stranger, he would have disciplined him. But with Eliza, he had just watched his son's pranks growing more and more cruel. He had even thought to himself, this is what she gets for scheming her way into my life. He looked at his mother, a woman who, despite her lack of wisdom, had always been kind and gentle. But this same woman, who could cry over the slightest misfortune of a stranger, had been so sharp and cruel to Eliza. When Finn was just learning to talk, he had heard his mother deliberately call Eliza a homewrecker in front of the child. Later, they all did worse. His mother intentionally kept Finn away from Eliza, berated her in front of the child, stripping her of all dignity, even though, after she married into the family, she had been good to all of them. She remembered everyone's preferences, was a dutiful daughter-in-law, and cared for Leo. She had even given him a child. How could they have accepted her devotion while being so cruel to her? Dad, please stop. Leo was the first to break. No, she can't be gone. She was so strong. No matter what I did, she never got mad at me. How could she be gone? He was crying, but Julian felt no sympathy. They were all sinners. They all deserved this guilt. My flower shop opened. Every day, I would go to my greenhouse and look at the vibrant flowers. When the sun streamed through the glass, my mood would instantly lift. The town had a lot of tourists, and sometimes I would welcome guests to my greenhouse. I loved brewing tea and listening to interesting people talk about their travels. One day, I had just seen off an old couple who had traveled to over 20 countries after retiring. They had me in stitches with stories of their attempts to learn English. When I turned around, I saw Julian and his 2 sons. My expression instantly turned cold. As I was about to close the door, he stopped me. Willow, we came to apologize. His face was filled with sorrow, and the 2 boys looked just as miserable. I didn't even want to look at them. Your Willow has been dead for 3 years. If it wasn't for me, the grass on her grave would be taller than your son. And now you remember to apologize. Mommy. Finn ran up and hugged my leg. Mommy isn't dead. Don't you want me anymore? I looked at the child, and the harsh words I was about to say got stuck in my throat. Finn, you be a good boy and stay with your father. I pushed him away. As I was about to close the door, I heard another mommy. It was Leo. I threw the door open, my eyes like daggers. You shut up. What right do you have to call her mommy? He seemed terrified. Even Julian tried to step in front of me. I advanced on him. You The one who drove her to her death. What right do you have to call her mommy? The boy was frozen in place. How did it feel? Dissecting her little goldfish. Was it satisfying? Watching her from the shadows as she suppressed her grief. Watching the light in her eyes slowly die. You're a little hero, aren't you? You killed her last hope. And then you put it on her pillow. Were you happy? Julian tried to pull me back. Willow, that's enough. He's just a child. A child. Yes, he's your family's good little boy. He knew his stepmother wasn't liked. Knew that no matter how cruel he was to her, no one would stand up for her. So your good son, in Eliza's most helpless, most painful moment, destroyed her last will to live. I didn't know. I really didn't know she was sick. I didn't know the goldfish were that important to her. Leo sobbed. You knew. How could you not have known? I stared at him viciously. Did you not know her situation in your house? She was called Mrs. Hayes, but no one respected her. No one cared about her feelings. Even the clothes and jewelry in her closet were just borrowed props. Her depression was so severe then. She tried to save herself. She wanted to have a pet of her own, to keep her company, to listen to her. But in your house, that soul-crushing place, what was she allowed to have? A cat or a dog was out of the question. She knew that if she brought one home, Leo would find a way to get rid of it the next day. So she secretly kept a fish in her room. It was quiet. It wouldn't bother anyone, and no one would find out. But even then, your good son wouldn't let her be. He snuck into her room, brutally dissected those two fish, and put their bodies on her pillow. Julian, tell me, isn't he your good son? Isn't he the fine heir your family raised? I couldn't help but laugh. And then I felt the cold tears on my face. Julian and his sons fled. Later, I received the signed divorce papers. He gave me a lot of money, almost half his fortune. After that, every school holiday, I would see Finn. He would stand in the distance, sometimes looking at me, sometimes at my flower shop, but he never came inside. I think he understood that I didn't want to see any of the Hayes family, including him. Epilogue. My name is Leo. For 3 years of my life, I hated Eliza. For the rest of my life, I have been atoning for that hatred. The day my father took me and my brother to apologize to her, just as she was about to close the door on me, I, for some reason, called her mommy. It was that one word that has left me drowning in guilt for the rest of my life. It was the first and last time I ever called her that. From that day on, the woman who had loved me for 3 years never gave me another chance. When we got home, my father punished me severely. The belt hurt, but I felt it wasn't enough. What was this pain compared to the hurt I had caused her? Later, I cried, and my father knelt and cried with me. He said it wasn't my fault, that he was the real culprit. Eliza had died from his coldness and neglect. He was the one who deserved to die, the one who needed to atone. After that day, everyone changed. My grandmother went to a mountain monastery to become a nun. My father didn't stop her. The day she left, she hugged Finn with red-rimmed eyes, but he pushed her away. I know she was heartbroken. But this was the price of our sins. Finn changed too. He became quiet and distant. I know he hates me too, for taking his mother away from him. My father changed. He still worked, ate, and slept, but the light had gone out of his eyes. Once, I saw him burning Eliza's diaries in the garden. He said they were too heavy, that it wouldn't be good for Finn to see them one day. When he was done, I saw him cough up blood. I changed too. I lost the right to be a child. My father and my younger brother became my responsibility. Everyone praised me for growing up, for becoming a responsible man like my father. But I know I am no man. I am the one who killed Eliza. I never saw her again. My father would take my brother to see her during the holidays. They would just watch from a distance, to see if she was well, if she was happy. Oh, and her flower shop later became a guest house. My father said she met a lot of people, from all over the world. She ran her business casually, closing for half the year to travel with her friends. And so I think, away from the Hayes family, she was finally, truly happy. She was no longer someone's wife, someone's mother. She was finally free to be herself.